Hey guys, and welcome to this video. So today I'm going to be talking about all of my favorite drugstore makeup brushes, and I have a couple of sponges in here as well. I talk a lot about makeup products on this channel, but the makeup products are only as good as the brushes and tools that you use to apply them. I learned that the hard way when I was using those little foam applicators in the eyeshadow kits and using just my hands. And I didn't understand why I was having so much trouble blending on my eyeshadow or getting my foundation to look right. And then when I invested in the right tools, and you don't have to spend a lot of money, it made a huge difference on how easy makeup was to put on and how much better it looked. And I know there are so many brushes out there, so I tried to narrow it down to just my favorites and share them all with you guys. There are quite a lot of brushes, so go ahead and pause the video and get a cup of tea or coffee or wine. Settle in because this might be a kind of lengthy video. And before we get started, obviously I changed up my background a little bit. I decided to kind of move the camera a little bit further back and show more of the room. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I just thought it looked a little bit more complete, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. And for those of you that are new to my channel, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about, so scratch that. This is a channel where we talk about makeup and beauty at affordable prices, so don't forget to subscribe while you're here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I am going to start with foundation concealer brushes, then move to like contour, bronzer, blush, and then eye brushes. So that's kind of the order that we're going to go in. So let's go ahead and get started with the foundation and concealer brushes. Okay, so I have 3 brushes and 3 sponges to talk to you guys about, and all 3 of the brushes are from Real Techniques. For those of you that aren't familiar with Real Techniques, it's a brush line started by Sam and Nick Chapman. They have a YouTube channel here called Pixie Woo, and they're amazing makeup artists that created a brush line at affordable prices, and these brushes are some of the most high quality brushes on the market, period. And they're my go-to brushes for face makeup. So all 3 of the brushes I'm going to be talking about for foundation are from Real Techniques. So the first one is this Stipple brush. I would highly recommend this for those of you that like a lighter coverage or are more prone to go with like the BB creams or tinted moisturizers rather than the full coverage foundations. Kind of rule of thumb is the denser the bristles, the fuller the coverage. So the bristles on this brush are not dense at all, and this will kind of distribute the product very evenly all over your face in a very light layer. So I use this, like I said, when I'm using like BB creams and tinted moisturizers, or when I kind of want to sheer out a medium coverage foundation, because this won't let you apply too much product at one time. I've had this brush and all of the Real Techniques brushes I'm going to talk about forever, and they are super durable. I've washed them a bunch of times and it doesn't even make a difference. Okay, so this next one is my all-time favorite brush for applying foundation. This is the Real Techniques buffing brush. The bristles on this are a little bit denser than the Stipple brush, but they're still nice and fluffy. So this is going to give you more of like that medium coverage, and the bristles on this really make it easy to, like it says, buff the foundation into your skin and kind of make it look like it's a part of your skin rather than just sitting on top of it. And this is really good for layering foundation as well. So if you want to build up a coverage of a lighter coverage foundation, this will help you kind of layer it without it looking cakey, because it really buffs it into your skin and forces you to really blend it out. I think this is the best foundation brush there is, and not just from the drugstore. And this last one is the densest of the 3. So I've kind of got an order of lightest coverage to fullest coverage. This is the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush. It's got nice, short, dense bristles, so this is not a super fluffy brush. It is going to give you the fullest coverage of the 3 brushes, because you're going to be depositing the most amount of product with this brush because the bristles are so dense. But it is a super soft brush, so it's not one of those like dense hard brushes. It's a dense soft brush, so it's still really good for blending into the skin. But this is for those of you that like a fuller coverage foundation. This brush will give you that effect. So on to sponges. Sponges are my favorite way to apply foundation and concealer. They're really the only way I apply concealer. But this first one probably won't be a surprise to any of you. This is the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and it is probably the first ever viable dupe for the Beauty Blender, in my opinion. It's super bouncy, lightweight, but it's also really affordable. So you can get 2 of these, I think, for like $9.99, so $5 a piece, and they're really comparable to the Beauty Blender. The difference with it is the shape. You've got this kind of like nice flat edge right here to really kind of get into the crevices of your face, but you still have this kind of pointed tip, which is perfect for blending out concealer underneath your eyes. This is like a must-have in a makeup collection, in my opinion. You can do both your foundation and your concealer with just the sponge. This next sponge is a new find for me, but it's a find I am so excited about. It's the new L'Oreal foundation sponge. You guys, if you haven't tried this, please right now go get it. It is amazing. It's super bouncy, super soft. It took me a minute to get used to the shape. I wasn't crazy about this indentation right here because I was trying to use the sponge like I would the Real Techniques sponge or the Beauty Blender by holding it right here and pouncing it on my face. But once I learned that you're supposed to use this like indentation right here as a handle, it made it so much better. So when I'm applying my foundation, I just bounce this side on my face, holding it in the middle. And then when I am blending out my concealer, I do the same thing, but with the pointier side and just blend out my concealer. I have been slowly using this one more than my Real Techniques one, and that has been my holy grail forever. So the fact that this is even competing with it says a lot. It's quickly becoming one of my very favorite products from the drugstore. Okay, so this last one is for those of you that like to have a dedicated concealer sponge. I personally mainly blend out my concealer with the same sponge that I use to blend out my foundation, just because I'm lazy like that. But for those of you that like to have a sponge specifically for concealer, this Real Techniques mini eraser sponge is really great. When I first got this, I used it like it says to on the instructions, to use it dry as an eraser. Like if you mess up your mascara, you use this as an eraser, and I was really unimpressed. But once I started using it damp as a sponge to blend out my concealer or to cover spots, I was in love. It's a really nice size to get right up underneath your eyes and to cover up your blemishes, because you can get a ton of precision with this sponge. Okay, so moving on to powder brushes. So once I'm done putting on my foundation and concealer, I like to set everything with a powder. And the first thing I set is my concealer, and my very favorite brush to do that is the e.l.f. blush brush. This might be like in my top 3 makeup brushes ever of all time. I own way too many of these because they're so affordable, and this is a brush that I always have in rotation. I switched some of the other brushes out, but I always have this brush in my makeup bag. I just love it for setting underneath my eyes. It's a great size. It's nice and tapered, so you can get right up in there, and it's super, super soft. This is also great for those of you with combination skin or dry skin. You don't need to powder your entire face because you're not going to get oily everywhere, and you just really want to set your concealer and maybe your T-zone. This will allow you to deposit product only where you need it, so you don't have any unnecessary layers of makeup on your face. Love this brush. And next up is a powder brush. So I have oily skin, so I need to set my whole face. So I like the big powder brushes, and this is definitely a big powder brush. This is the e.l.f. Beautifully Precise powder brush, and it's a relatively new find for me. I reviewed the whole collection. I can link that down below, but this has become a front runner for me in that entire collection. It is such a soft powder brush. It feels like silk on your face, and it does a really nice job of setting my foundation without making my face look powdery. I also like this just to kind of blend everything out. So when I'm done with like my foundation, powder, contour, blush, all that fun stuff, I can use this to just kind of go over everything one more time and make sure it all blends seamlessly. And this is a great brush for that. Okay, so the last brush that I use for powdering is this Real Techniques powder brush. This is another amazing, super soft powder brush. I've had this again forever. Most of my Real Techniques brushes I've had forever because they're just such high quality, so durable, wonderful, and it's amazingly soft. I love this for, like I said, setting my foundation, but also when it's summertime and I just want to go crazy with the bronzer. Sometimes I'll just use this rather than like a contour brush to just give that all over bronzy effect, because it is so fluffy and it just blends things seamlessly on the face. Okay, so moving on to contour, bronzer, and blush brushes. The first contour brush I want to talk about is my favorite brush for contouring, and it is the e.l.f. Mineral Powder Brush. I love this brush because it's like a mini powder brush. So if you look at the e.l.f. Beautifully Precise powder brush next to this one, you can see the size difference. It's like the same shape, the same idea, but a mini version. And I love that because it's nice and fluffy and it blends everything out so nicely, but it's also small enough to give you the control and precision that you want. So I just use this right below my cheekbones and blend it out in circular motions and then take it along my temple, and it just does the work for you. It's also great for blush because you can apply it right there on the apples of your cheeks. I just love that it's such a small yet fluffy brush, so it's super versatile. That one's my favorite because I don't like the super harsh like Instagram contour, but if you want something that'll give you a little bit sharper of a contour, this Real Techniques contour brush is great because it's nice and tapered, so it's precise here at the top. So you can get that really sharp line right here on your cheekbone and then use kind of the base of the brush to blend it out. This is also great for highlighting because, again, that tapered area right here, you can just apply the highlight to the top of your cheekbones and then blend it out with the base of the brush. I love this tapered effect on brushes because you do have the option to be super precise, but you can also blend it out. Okay, and then this last contouring brush is something I would highly recommend for beginners. It's the e.l.f. blending brush, and the shape of this brush is perfect for contouring, especially for beginners, like I said, because you can just kind of line it up from the top of your ear to your mouth and kind of create that angle and then just move it back and forth. And it does the blending for you. It makes sure that you stay in that straight line right there because it's nice and long and narrow. This is what I use when I want like a super fast contour, because you just like boom, boom, done. Another reason it's great for beginners is because the handle is shorter, and another kind of rule of thumb is the closer that you're holding the brush to the base of the brush, the more control you have. So you have a ton of control, and it's the perfect shape to get the perfect contour if you're new to contouring. And then once I'm done with contouring, I like to go in with a bronzer and just kind of blend out all the harsh edges and add a little bit of warmth back into the face. And my favorite brush for that is this Wet n Wild powder brush. This is one of the best brushes in the Wet n Wild collection by far. It's so soft and super affordable. It's the perfect size for bronzer because you can blend it all over your face, but this isn't going to give you that like all over bronze effect like that big powder brush will. It has a little bit more precision than that, so it's perfect for every day, but it still blends everything out so seamlessly, and it is so affordable. I can't even believe it. This one I'm kind of mentioning between the bronzer brush and the blush brush on purpose because it's kind of a dual purpose brush, and it is the Real Techniques blush brush. I love this brush for traveling or lazy makeup days because it's so versatile. It's super tapered, so you've got the kind of tip of the brush here, which I love using for blush, or if I'm gonna skip contour and just do bronzer, sometimes I'll put the most bronzer where I would normally contour. And this allows you the precision to kind of get under your cheekbones and get the most product there. But then I press a little harder and use the base of the brush to just blend everything out on my entire face. So I can use this for contouring, blush, and bronzer, and I just love having one brush to handle everything when I'm either, like I said, having a lazy day or traveling. Okay, and next is blush. I only have one brush that I use for blush, and it's because it's just the best brush there is for blush in my opinion. It's the e.l.f. Beautifully Precise Small Stipple Brush, and I just love this because it is a stippling brush, so you can use it for cream blush and you can use it for powder blush. I like being able to use just one brush for either one, and I also love how small this brush is, and you can get right on the top of your cheekbones and blend it upwards. And one thing I forgot to mention about the powder brush that I love about the Beautifully Precise line is that the handles are kind of like a triangular shape, and so you can really kind of grab onto it like a pencil. So even though it's a longer brush, you still feel like you have the control that you want, and I just don't reach for anything else when I'm applying blush. Okay, on to eye brushes. So this first one is the one that I have been using nonstop for filling in my brows, and it is the e.l.f. Small Angled Brush. I love this brush for how dense it is because you can get kind of those hair-like strokes, but it's also super soft. I don't know if any of you guys have ever used a super dense and super hard brush for filling in your brows, and you end up putting way too much product because you can't really blend it out. But if the brush isn't dense enough, you won't be able to create those hair-like strokes, and this is the best of both worlds. The bristles are super dense, so it's really precise, but they're also super soft, so it's easy to blend everything out. And you can also use this for eyeliner. It would be the perfect brush for creating that nice sharp wing because it's got the angle and pointed tip right here. Okay, so this next brush is an amazing eyeshadow brush by e.l.f. and this is from their original line. This is an OG eyeshadow brush, and this is the best brush for packing on product on your lid. This is better than my MAC brushes for that. I don't know what it is about this $1 brush, but when I really want to pack product onto my lid, this is my go-to. So I'd recommend this not only for makeup beginners, but for people that are advanced with makeup as well. Give this a try, you won't be disappointed. Okay, so this next brush I talked about in my January favorites. It is one of the best eyeshadow brushes ever. This is the Wet n Wild Crease Brush. This is, like I said in my favorites video, this is comparable to the Sigma brushes. This is one of the best crease brushes I have ever bought, and it is 99 cents. This is great for blending product through the crease, for those transition colors, whenever you want to create a nice blended diffused line through the crease. These long tapered bristles are amazing for doing that. I highly recommend getting like 10 of these. And then this next blending brush is the Base Shadow Brush by Real Techniques. This is another kind of tapered blending brush, but it's a lot shorter of a brush. So this is good for those darker crease colors where you want a little bit more precision, but you can also use this for packing product onto the lid as well. It's not as good as that e.l.f. one, but it's synthetic. So for those of you that have like the ColourPop shadows, they always recommend using a synthetic brush. And this is a really great drugstore synthetic brush to use with those ColourPop eyeshadows. I like that you can use it both for packing product onto the lid and for blending out your crease. Okay, so this next one might be my very favorite brush from the e.l.f. Beautifully Precise line, and it is the e.l.f. Smudge Brush. And it is amazing for blending out shadow on your lower lash line. If you want to blend out some liner or just use a darker shadow to define your lower lash line, this is my go-to brush for that. It gives you a ton of precision. This is one of the very first drugstore pencil brushes I've ever seen that is absolutely amazing. Okay, so these last two come in a pack, so I'm going to talk about them together. They're the Eco Tools brushes, and this is the Define and Shade, and this is the Smudge and Blend. If you're looking for a starter kind of eye brush set, this is the starter eye brush set for you. It's $6.99 for both of these brushes, and you get everything you really need. So you've got a blending brush right here. It's great for blending product through the crease. And then you've got this denser brush on the bottom of it, which is a kind of a smudge brush, which is great for the same thing that I just talked about with the e.l.f. Smudge Brush, for smudging out shadow on your lash line or for smudging out liner. And then on this brush, you've got your shade brush, which is great for packing on product to the lid. You can also use this as like a second blending brush. And then you've got the Define side, which is perfect for an eyebrow brush or for an eyeliner brush. So I would say between these two, if you added this 99-cent brush in here, you could get all the brushes you really need for any makeup look for $7. So this would be like what I would recommend for a starter eye kit. Okay, so that is going to be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you found this helpful. Let me know down in the comments below what your favorite brush is from the drugstore. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video.